with Onkarabile, the show that aims to promote reading and writing in the communities, restoring pride and dignity of Africans through the power of reading and writing. Ladies and gentlemen, today I am joined by Lungile Madinane, who is here to share more about mental health awareness through reading and writing. Sis Lungile, thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Yes. Did I pronounce your name right? Lungile Madinane.
It's Lungile Madinane.
Madinane.
Yes,
all right. Okay. No, thank you so much for your time. And let's talk about mental health. You know, the past, I think, few years, we have seen this issue of mental health like it's trending, you know. And before that, we did not hear much more about this topic. So I want us to talk about it if we really, do we have that awareness through reading and writing?
So in terms of mental health, to be honest, mental health has always been there. It's just that even now, it's not as a focus, it's not one of those things that are focused on, you know. And before we actually get into mental health, I would love us to also just unpack in terms of what is mental health.
Please.
You know, so mental health, you find good mental health where you are in a good state as an individual, meaning you've got a life balance, emotionally you're okay, psychologically you're fine, even in terms of your social status, you're okay. And then you find the other side of mental health, which speaks to the bad side, which is where we need to be really focused on, because that's where when the person moves from a good mental state into a bad mental state, it becomes a concern, because that's where you find maybe a person is suffering through anxiety, they've got depression, they schizo, bipolar, the list goes on in terms of the different mental disorders a person can go through.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes,
and the sad thing, unfortunately, is that society at large, I won't say certain racial, I won't go into race, but society only focuses on mental health when a person commits suicide. Then even in our country, the moment a person commits a suicide, especially a well-known person, you find now it gets an attention to say, you know, you need to check up on people, you need. But why must we wait for such events to occur before we tackle the critical nature of mental health? Because it is a real serious problem that we're dealing with. People are going through the most.
But are people aware, like you talk about mental awareness, are people aware about the mental health, like especially the bad side, when maybe the symptoms, with maybe what can actually makes one aware that, you know, I'm facing bad mental health?
So some people are aware, but unfortunately, especially in the black culture, the moment a person is now showing certain behaviors, they either get labeled that they're looking for attention, or no, it runs in the family, you know, it's a family of crazy individuals. People are not how can I put it? They're not focused on the core problem, because remember, you can look at something in the surface, but it doesn't mean you understand the root. You need to get to the root to understand what is happening. Yes, some people may be going crazy because of other things. You know, we also live in a world where there's the lighter side, God's side, and there's the evil side where evil will also do certain things to people. But the point of the matter, that's not the only thing that will cause a person to lose their mind. Okay. You know, severe depression does put a person in a state where they feel, I can't. And sometimes you find that it's like they seeing things, they saying things that don't make sense. But that's your body, a person's body crying for help to say, I'm not okay, I need help. You know, and sometimes you do hear people saying, you know, I'm not okay. But society has just learned to respond quickly. When a person comes and say, you know, I'm not okay, they're like, you'll be fine. Without actually going deeper to say, what do you mean you're not okay? Yeah. Is there something happening, you know, with you? Hence, we find where also this thing of people not healing from traumas that they went through has an impact on the next person. Because if I, as Lungile, as a mother, I have never healed, I'm going to end up bleeding on my innocent children, on my family. And it becomes now an ongoing thing where we're not okay. And then you find people saying it runs in the family. Nothing runs in the family. But it's because we love to absorb negativity and think it's normal. My mom was abused, so it's okay for me to be in an abusive environment. It's not okay to be in an abusive environment. Because of what happened to your family, you need to push yourself and say, I'm not going to live that way.
Exactly.
Because remember, people deal with things in a different perspective. Like with me, I also, as much as I'm one individual who heals others, through the coaching, through the mentoring and all that, and I have a good in-depth experience in psychology, because I've got 2 degrees in psychology. But the point of the matter, a healer cannot heal themselves. That's a fact. As much as if you come to me and consult with me and I'm able to unpack things for you and I can help you, it's not the same when I'm dealing with problems. Hence, I always say that even if you're a psychologist, when you're dealing with the most, you need to find another psychologist to help you, because that person will come with a different mindset and they will come on a clean slate where they're trying to find where the root cause is. Because sometimes you may think your problem is due to X, when in actual fact, it's A. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So someone else will come with a different mindset and be able to explain to you. But the sad thing really is that there is not much awareness. It's only when crisis occurs and the worst happens, that is when awareness is created.
I love, because now you wrote a book, Depression, which is one of the, I don't know how can I call it, one of the things that actually falls under mental healthness, bedside. Do we have more readings? When you go to the bookstore, when you go to the bookshops, or book, whatever, libraries, can you find books like this,
Yes, there are. I don't want to lie. Over time, you find individuals through their personal experiences sharing, about mental health. You also find quite a number of doctors and psychologists who have also embarked in the journey of writing just to create the awareness. But the sad thing is that we also in a country that has taken a step back in terms of promoting reading. When I was growing up, every city, every town, every small town, etc., had good running libraries. Even schools had excellent libraries. But when you look around now, the culture of reading is almost dead. Do you understand? It's now it's basically more on you as a parent. How do you promote reading in your home? And unfortunately, some people don't have the money to buy books. They basically have just enough to survive. And then you find a child, the school they're going to, the school doesn't have sufficient resources to have a library. You understand? So that child ends up not being exposed to reading. So unfortunately, even all those good books that are written end up gathering dust in people's storages because they're not bought. So it's there's just far more that we still need to do as a country, to bring it back, just to go back to basics in terms of bringing the culture of reading. Because so many things I acquired at a young age, I learned through reading. And I think that culture that was created for me at home, because my mom is an academic, who really encouraged reading and also ensured that we go to good schools where even the culture there promotes exactly the vision she had for us. But not everybody, has that luxury of going to any school that their parents can afford. Some people, it's just a matter this is all I can afford, a free school.
So tell me, Oslungile, so because of that challenge, like, and you said that we need to do a lot as the country, what, in your perspective, what do you think can be done, especially to reach those people who will not afford to buy a book by Oslungile, Depression, a silent killer, but that person needs this kind of information, and the best way or the easiest way is they can get it through reading. What can be done to reach such individuals, especially the kids?
The best thing really is if we can, as a country, focus on rebuilding libraries. Because through a library, like for example, it's easy for me I can donate a book maybe to one particular library, because I know that a week one child will read it, the next week someone else comes and reads, etc., etc. The library helps, to assist those underprivileged individuals who can't really access or buy books in that sense, whether it's a school library or a local library and all of that. So if that can just be rectified, I think we'll go a long way in terms of reintroducing the culture of reading and ensuring that children, even older people, have access to books. Because unfortunately, as authors, it's impossible for us to give away our books.
No,
it's also our means of doing an income.
Yes.
And at the same time, we put in so much. It's not cheap to publish a book.
Yes.
I think you having books as well, you understand the journey that it takes to really to really have your book, in your hand. So there's a lot, but really investing in terms of creating that awareness in an individual space, as well as getting the support from the government. Why I'm emphasizing in terms of that is because of funding is required for anything to happen.
Yes. Correct.
It could be public funding, it could be private through other institutions, sponsoring, etc. But there's so much more, and it can only be done through a community. One individual cannot do it. It's really impossible to. Yes, you can try. Like, for example, on my side, I do. Like from a very young age, people that I will buy gifts for, whether it's a person's birthday, etc. I've always been that person that will buy a book rather than something else, because I felt I'm enhancing that individual based on their interest. So if a person likes cooking, I'll buy them a book that is more cooking related. If a person is like me, loves spiritual books, I'll buy them that. But that's my way of giving back in terms of reintroducing that. Even with children, my nieces, my nephews, etc. I'm that auntie that just buys books. To a point, everybody will be even laughing, saying, I know what you bought me. It's a book, But that's my way of just saying, reading is actually good, encouraging reading, and all of that. But yeah, I can do it, but if the whole world is not doing it, it's like really pouring a drop in an ocean, and expecting miracles to happen, because I don't want to lie. The COVID period also, so many authors were born. I was born through COVID. Also, I started writing in the COVID space. As much as, yes, as a youngster, I used to write poetry, but really taking writing seriously, it was when we were under lockdown, where I was like, okay, what's happening?
And I love what you said, and now it takes me back to, what I think we have to really appreciate and give credit to what the government is doing now. There is this project called Young Emerging Writers, where Gauteng Department of Education every year is looking for authors to submit their books, and those books will be distributed to school libraries, and I believe it's a good way of reintroducing what you're saying, taking back that culture to schools, to so that the kids can actually be exposed to knowledge such as depression, because that
of
book
course.
We need such books. But let's just go to a short break, Lungile. When we come back, please, I will just want you to briefly unpack, your book, Depression. Maybe someone is depressed there,
No problem.
so that you can just, help that person because it's part of mental health, right? Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, we are just going to go for a short break, then we will come back shortly.
The Creative Corner with Nolo Knowles, a cozy and inspiring show that features interviews with artists, showcases their work, challenges, and successes. Every Tuesday at 2 p.m. only on Share Radio. Tune in live on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. This is Share Radio.
Welcome back to On Writing with Onkarabile, the show that aims to promote reading and writing in our communities. Ladies and gentlemen, we still have Lungile in our studio. And please, if you have not subscribed to Share Online, do so now. Share and like this interview. Lungile, let's continue. I said before we went for break, we are going to speak about your book just a little bit. Tell us, why did you decide to write this book, Depression, a Silent Killer?
So, firstly, my reason for writing about depression is because I have suffered through depression. And being a person that has done psychology, the next person would have thought it's impossible for you because you know exactly what symptoms to look for, etc., etc. But I don't want to lie, it's not as easy as that. And especially being an individual that is strong, who seem to be in control, we often suffer the most because you're carrying the world on your shoulders, which you shouldn't. So in my late teens, yes, I suffered depression, Then as a young adult, I suffered depression. And surprisingly, through the COVID phase, I was so overwhelmed, I suffered depression. But this time around, I said it's not going to happen again because I was so deep in a dark hole where really I was convinced death is the only option I had, And I felt, what, I don't want to lie, I prayed so much when I felt that way. I fasted and I said, what, God, I really need this. I need you to help me because it's not the first time I find myself in such a place. And being a strong individual who's always there for others, who's helping others, who's healing others, the only way for me to get help is if I have to pay a psychologist. Because the moment I go to either my family or my friends and I say I'm not okay, immediately they'll be like, you'll figure it out, because you're good. But no one actually took their time to say, you're saying you're not okay. What is happening? Where literally I found where I felt I was alone. But okay, my mom, yes, I could go to her, but I felt she was also going through the most, being the oldest in the family and a lot of things are just in her shoulders and all of that, So I just felt, okay, I can't just add. She's old. I can't add my problems to hers, But the point of the matter is that I literally suffered alone. And at that point in time, life continues, meaning I still need to serve others. I still need to do my job. I still need to be there fully. I still need to be the best mom ever. There were so many roles that I was playing, which I needed to ensure that they're perfect. But this critical role, which is self, I wasn't looking after. I was there for everybody, but not myself. So with my experience, hence I said I took time off a lot of things. Like literally it was prayer, me, fasting, God. I literally took time off because I felt I really needed to save others through my experiences. Because even when I analyzed the known symptoms, when you look at me, I didn't have the known symptoms where a person loses interest in the things they loved. I overdid the things that I loved. Through my phase of depression, would you believe that that's when I literally studied the most. I love books, I love studying, but literally it would be one qualification after the another to run away from what I was going through. I just became this supernatural mother. I'm there for my children, But at the end of the day, I felt I can't. When the moment you in your room, that's where you literally feel, oh God, I can't. Yes, I wake up, to serve. I wake up to do everything that is expected of me. But every day I'm dying inside. And no one seems to be able to help me because everybody keeps repeating the same thing, that you'll be fine, without even getting to the root cause to say, Lungile, what is going on? And it's really sad because so many people, you find a lot of people like myself. And even when you look at statistics in terms of suicide cases, it's usually those people that everybody thought they had it figured.
Yeah.
But why? Because literally people are never there for us who seem to have it figured. People are never there for doctor. If you're a doctor, no one will be there. No one will, because they think, in surgery, the person can prescribe things for you. Can't.
But what can now bring awareness to us, who are looking at superhumans like you guys, or so-called superhumans like you guys? What is the awareness that we can get to be able to reach to you?
It's the little things. I always say it's the little things. As much as superhumans, as you put it, are always there for you, there's nothing wrong with calling an individual and just saying, how are you? No, literally, how are you doing? Which is something I've started doing even because I also have coaches in my life journey, etc., where I check up on those people that seem to have it figured, because no one checked up on me when I was going through the most. With me, even my marriage ended. Some people only discovered years later. And it's people that I'm close with. But because they never cared, it was always about them. We meet, a person just goes on and on about themselves. Even when you say, I have something to tell you. Wait, let me tell you. You know those things. Like, as individual, we just need to learn to be there for one another. And even when you observe, like, it's impossible for a person to seem too perfect. In my space, I felt, okay, the moment I started changing, being too perfect, school is just going right, kids on point, everything on point, performance at work. It's not normal. You need to slack somewhere. Do you understand? No one is perfect.
Yes.
Do you understand? The moment you see something out of the ordinary, because I lost, like, even I'm one person that is outgoing. I love traveling and. But when I was going through the most, I didn't. I just found myself and I hid myself in books, doing research, doing this, doing that, where in my case, it was my social well-being that was impacted, because my social well-being also speaks to self-love, about me as an individual. My psychological state was impacted because I loved and cared for everyone else but me. So there's so many things that you can see and out of the ordinary, when you feel it's just too much, it's just like I always say, even church, I remember there was one friend of mine that just even said to me, Lungile, you've always been a church individual, but I think you're just overdoing it. You know why? That was a safe space for me to go worship and cry. In church, people are just, it's a hospital. That one is crying, that one is crying. So you get there, no one's going to be like, I just felt it's a safe space for me just to release everything that I was going through.
You're touching the very most important issue that I was going to ask, the issue of church. And I wanted to cooperate this, church and mental health. I want to know if the church in itself is doing enough to tackle the issue of mental health. You said something very important, that, a church is like a hospital. And there people are crying, someone is crying there. But most of the time, we think that when you are at church and you are crying, then you are touched by the Holy Spirit. Now you are mentioning something important, that you used church, to just take out what was inside.
Yes, as a safe space.
Now, I want to know, someone will see you and will think that this person is touched by the Spirit, touched by God, he's not taking out, he's not depressed. How do we then, as the church, make sure that we play a role in being aware about such individuals? where we can give counseling?
I'm so happy that you touched on the church and mental health, because a church is actually supposed to be a place of safety where people are settled. Yes, some churches, they do have psychologists which can be utilized, and all of that. But at the same time, a church also can be a place where a person's mental health is impacted the most, because that's a place where we go for safety. And that's a place where you can be utilized and used in a manner that you never thought possible. As strong as I am, I was played also by a certain pastor, who at my worst, right? I was going through the most, and at work, there were so many things. And I really honestly thought he had good intentions, right? And around that time, I literally had to resign for my own safety and all of that. All that guy saw in me was a jackpot. She's going to be getting her pension monies, etc. Maybe she'll help me to build a church. Do you understand? So when you go to church, one thing you need to know is that you need to protect yourself. It's said that some of the churches around, a person is more safe in a tavern than in them. It's an honest truth. And it's topics that people don't want to discuss.
Yeah.
Do you understand? But unfortunately, not everyone who is a minister or a pastor is there because they have a calling.
Yeah.
Some people go to a church to make money, to defraud others, to abuse vulnerable women. Because remember, when you leave your house and you're saying you're going to church, in your mind, mentally you're saying, I'm going to God.
Yes.
And you expect that in a house of God, there are God's children. But it's not the case anymore, unfortunately. More and more, you find there is more devils in church than anywhere else. It's a sad reality.
Yeah.
Hence, as an individual, you need to protect yourself. If something doesn't feel right, you need to take a step back. And unfortunately, when you get abused by someone of power who has a congregation behind them, everybody will be like, no, you are wrong, when you're actually the victim. And these things are things that have been going on and
so
on.
does it add to your mental?
It does. But hence I'm saying, when you go there. For me, I will never stop going to church. You know why? I find myself in a congregation, and I've learned to focus on the right spirits. If something doesn't feel right, I don't entertain, I don't engage in it. I go there, I pray, I do what I need to do. And to be honest, it's always nice to hear someone else speak and preach other than your own voice of preaching and speaking and talking. It's always nice to hear someone else's viewpoint. So just take the good in there, but don't go in there and saying, I'll be okay. Because like I said, it's a hospital. There's some people who are going through a lot. Some people are just there to destroy others. I was destroyed, I'm going to continue. Without stopping that, to say I was abused in church, I'm going to fight for others not to go through what I went through. Some people, remember, they didn't go through the healing phase. You find that whatever happened to them, they were labeled. So now they move from that church and just go to another church to destroy others, because they're still crying for healing. Do you get what I mean?
Yes. So tell me, this book, Depression,
Yeah.
A Silent Killer.
Yeah.
What will one learn from this book? The main overall, you said it's about saving lives, but the main overall of what one can learn from.
So
there.
basically, in this book, I did a lot of research, in terms of what depression is, what symptoms to look for, what you can do to prevent yourself from really going under, and all of that. I've utilized great research from doctors, psychologists, etc., as well as I've put my personal experiences as well, just to bring that personal touch. Because sometimes a book when you go through it, you feel, it's too researched.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know.
yes.
So in a way of bringing personal touch, I brought my personal examples in terms of how depression impacted me and how really it is a silent killer, because I literally found myself in that dark hole where I didn't even see, like, really I felt I'm alone, when in actual fact I wasn't alone, you know. But at that particular time, with everything that was happening, I was alone, because I felt the people that I love, the people that I'm always there for, are not even seeing that I'm suffering, even when I'm saying I'm not okay, you know. So I brought those elements as well to explain and help the next person. And being a Christian, I also brought in terms of how God saved me, because I don't want to lie. God played a critical role in terms of me standing, like me being here with you. Because really, when I was going through the most, especially in 2021, suicide really crossed my mind several times, you know.
Silungile, let's just go for another short break, and then when we come back, we are just gonna wrap up this discussion. You know, it's so good to hear such information, and I really believe that a lot of people will get, your book also to get more of what you are explaining.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's just go for a short break. We are still with Silungile. We will come back shortly. Welcome back to On Writing with Onkarabile, the show that aims to promote reading and writing in our communities. Please don't forget to subscribe, to share online, like and share this interview. We are still having Sis Lungile on our studio. Sis Lungile, thank you so much once again, for such information. And, I think you explained, much about your book. Now, I want us to focus on this issue. One of the things that, I don't know if it's a myth or what, you will explain, you are an expert on this.
No problem.
That associated with mental health is the issue of mental disturbance, that someone is crazy. So can you please clarify for us, does it mean when you talk about, because people are so afraid to come out because they are afraid that they will be considered as people who are crazy, or who are mentally disturbed. Can you please clarify?
Yeah, so in terms of mental health, like I said when we started, that is the good mental health when your state of mind is well.
Yeah.
And then there's the bad mental health where you've got mental disorders. And not all mental disorders mean you crazy, you understand? But if something is not rectified as it's starting, it may lead to you seeming like you've lost it. Under mental health, like, yes, there's depression, there's anxiety, there's bipolar, there's a lot of things that you find under the bracket, the umbrella of mental health. And with anything, with any disease, if something is not cured, what does it do? It continues to destroy an individual even more. It's the same with your mental state. It could be your emotional state, your psychological state, your social state. Anything that is not rectified would lead to you seeming like you're crazy. And remember, there's a thin line between you being crazy and you being normal. And in some instances, we all go through the crazy state, and I'll just make an easy example. You find that you're a calm individual, and a person comes and provokes you, and continuously provoke you, and then you snap. The moment you snap, you move into your crazy side, where you're not in control. And when the person who knows you looks at you, they're like, that person just went out of character. But it's because there is really a thin line between you being sane and insane, And if any mental condition, it could be just normal anxiety. Because even anxiety, there's extreme anxiety when a person now starts not being able to breathe, etc., etc. When the next person looks at that person, they think this person has lost their mind. But because they're suffering from something that is not being healed. It's unlike, with flu. A flu, as the moment you start coughing, you go to the doctor and you get medication and you get healed and then you move on. But unfortunately, because people are not even aware of the symptoms of identifying if an individual is going through a mental breakdown, it goes on and on, where a person explodes. Other people, their means of exploding is suicide, unfortunately. Other people, is just mental breakdown, where really the world says, this person is crazy.
Let's talk about, we spoke about the school, we spoke about the church, we spoke about the individuals. Now, I want us to go to the workspace, and you spoke something about bipolar, one of the, sign or, a factor, which will be a bipolar. And there are those people that, will be known like, bipolar law. You understand? And it's something that is being entertained.
Yes. No, it's true.
And even at work, you'll find that certain individuals who is understood to, unjalo lo muntu lo. You understand? What must be done? Must this person just be left like that?
No.
And say, what must be done?
It shouldn't be left like that, because you identifying there's a problem. As an organization, you should be able to get help for that individual. Because I don't want to lie, even when I was working in corporate, there would be individuals that you told, just don't pay attention to them.
Exactly, yeah.
But the point of the matter, that person is impacting me. This person is impacting my environment. This person is impacting how I'm feeling, my mental state now. Because 2 minutes they're okay, 2 minutes they're crazy, 2 minutes they're swearing, but I'm supposed to be okay with it. And it can be very scary. You understand? Imagine you come into a job and then now there's this crazy person next to you and everybody's saying it's okay. It's not okay. But that's the thing, that as a community, we've allowed certain things, or for a better word, we've allowed we moved into a space where something that is not okay, we've made it to be okay. Abuse, is just made okay. And all of that. It draws back to mental health. The moment you're picking up that moment, there's something that is not right. You need to do something. Hence, I will touch on a very sensitive topic, like abuse, where you find a child is molested in the house. But the symptoms were there. You find that person, the child was bubbly, etc., etc. Now they start being, quiet and all of that. Instead of questioning what is happening and taking the child down, you just think, no, she's just going through mood swings. You are assuming. Hence, I always say assumption is very dangerous, because it tackles the topic on the surface when there's a root cause of everything. An individual doesn't just change overnight and become something they're not. There usually is something that is underlying and all of that. Even in a work environment, everybody deserves to have a healthy working environment.
That's correct.
The job itself is stressful. Imagine now having to work in an environment that is depressing. The thing is, I understand because I've been there, and being self-employed, as challenging as it is, but it brings me so much peace.
So, thank you so much for bringing the issue of the organization must, make a plan about that, must not just entertain this issue. Now, I want to know, when it comes to the individual, and this one can happen anywhere. It can happen whether at home, at church, or even at work. You found out that this person is even breaking about it. Kuti mina ngiso. You understand? So, which help do we give to such person? This person knows, there is a lady that, she was talking to me, and she said it plainly to me that even at home they know, ukuthi mina ngiskroof. You understand? So,
sometimes a person ends up owning up to that because that's how they're labeled. From a young age, an individual grew up and the parents, instead of helping them, they label them, and it's sad because now you're raising an adult to be so emotionally impacted, mentally unstable, and owning up to saying, and ending up being proud to say, I'm ngiyahlanya mina. Do you get those things?
Yeah, yeah.
It's really sad when that happens, because it means that person has been crying for help for so long that they reach a point where they said, I actually don't care. Instead of the next person laughing at me and saying ngiyahlanya, ngizovele ngifike ngithini, already mean I'm crazy. Do you understand those
Yeah.
things? And it's just their way of protecting themselves, not necessarily that and it's their way of crying for help, because the moment a person says I'm crazy, as an adult, you must start saying, what do you mean you're crazy? Then a person starts unpacking, I see things, like this and this is happening. When I was young, now you end up unpacking. Exactly. Now you're able to identify, to say, no, man, this person is actually suffering from A, B, and C. But awareness will help, even in terms of, I think in terms of the health, like if they can really have a drive, I would urge that. The same way, you find where people are made aware in terms of TB, in terms of HIV, what needs to be done when, and all those things. Having those ongoing campaigns to create, even with mental health, because unfortunately mental health is destroying people far more than these diseases that we are putting out there, and it's just creating an ongoing generation of people who needs healing, because a lot of these mental disorders could easily have been rectified very early.
But we do have the campaign of a month, isn't it? Am I?
Is a month enough to create such awareness on something that is impacting us as a society? A month is not enough. Such things need to be done every day. It's the same with women abuse. Do you understand?
Yeah.
You focusing in that particular month and ensuring that cases are tackled, is it helping? No. Because after that month, the campaign month is gone, then we forget about it.
Yeah.
And move on.
Yeah.
And the thing continues going and going. There's certain things that shouldn't have campaigns. It should be an ongoing thing, and creating an awareness, because unfortunately we are losing people. A lot of people are committing suicide, and in some instances the statistics will never be correct, because even some families are so ashamed of what has transpired that they will say, no, a person had an illness suddenly and passed on. Do you understand? They're not even owning up to saying, guys, as much as you all knew this person, she actually committed suicide. So it's even hidden when people commit suicide, when people suffered from mental health disorders, because some families will literally hide a person, lock a person in a room where nobody sees them, because you understand, it's not taken and tackled the right way, and it's something that can be rectified.
Lungile, I'm gonna ask you to just wrap up with maybe encouragement, your last words rather, to our viewers. Just conclude this topic about mental health, and I don't know what you will say.
Yeah, in terms of my wrap up, I just really want just to say that as individuals, let's just be more kinder to one another. Let's be more observant of those we love. That will go a long way, because through that you are able to save a life. You are able to identify something as it's starting. Let's not just be those individuals who take from others. Let's give as well. Let's be available. Let's listen more. And just love one another, because we all going through the most. Let me be honest with you. We're all going through the most, and at times the only thing you need is that little smile, or somebody just saying, "How are you?"
Yeah.
Really,
Yes.
how are you? And you seeing that individual really means what they're saying when they're asking you, how are you?
That's true. If people want to get hold of you, maybe they want to get your book, Depression, a Silent Killer, and you also have some coaching and mentorship programs. Maybe people want to, get some counseling. You also spoke about being psychologist. having experience in? Are you still practicing?
So yeah, in terms of that, yes, I've got the experience in terms of my qualifications and all, but I'm not a psychologist. Hence, I focus on the life coaching elements, which is something that I've got experience on,
okay.
mentoring and all of that, and of course through my book. So anybody that wants to get hold of me, they can get hold of me through my social media pages. I go by Lungile Madinane, and through my company, which is Kwamseme, which is also you can find, even when you search me on Google, you'll find me. I'm very visible.
Okay. No, thank you so much, Sis Lungile. Thank you for your time. We really appreciate that. And, you also wrote 8 books.
Yes, Depression, a Silent Killer is my 8th book.
Okay.
But I am now moving into focusing on mental health. So I'm busy with my 9th book, which is on mental health.
Nice.
Because
any clue?
Hey, no, soon you'll get to know exactly. But
Okay.
I just decided to take my time and really unpack, because this book really made me realize how much people are really going through the most.
No, true.
Because people will share with you to say, what, after reading your book, I realized A, B, and C, and I felt, what, let me do a bit more. It mustn't end just here.
Yeah.
Let me create more awareness
Exactly.
in terms of what we're dealing with.
And are you planning to do some campaigns as well through your books, like mental health?
No, definitely. So I am, and hence I even opened myself to such programs, to such coming through here also, because that's another means of creating awareness and all of that, And yes, we also are working also through Kwamsem, and just to see how can we create more awareness, how can we ensure that people know exactly what is happening, and also know that they're not, an individual is not alone in this journey.
Thank you so much, Sis Lungile. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our show on Writing with Onkarabile, the show that aims to promote reading and writing in our communities. My name is Onkarabile Mokoto, and I'm saying to you, let's meet next time, same place, same time on Share Online. Thank you.